Hi, Kristi Johnston from Center for Holistic Healing and Art, holistichealingandart.com. Today I'm going to do a little watercolor demo for you using Tom Lynch's theory of a colorful first wash. So let me show you what I've got going on here. All right, I think you can see what I've got here in my palette already. I've got some puddles, and I've got permanent green, and I've got cadmium yellow and pyrrole red, and I'm just going to get right started. Now I've got a pelican drawn here, and the idea is to have the colors sort of seamlessly blend and be bright and vibrant. I am going to keep my edges inside my pelican. And I did do this drawing so that I would be able to stay there but stay loose. Having a drawing and knowing that you can rely on it are definitely one of the ways to simplify your idea. So I've drawn this pelican, and as I fill in the color, you'll be able to see it. Now the idea is to let the color blend seamlessly and stay in those lines. So I didn't wet my paper first. You certainly could if you feel like you can't be quite quick enough to get that done. That's certainly up to you. So quinacridone magenta, French ultramarine blue, permanent green, which is definitely from Tom Lynch's palette. Not something that I would ordinarily have had on my palette, but it's lovely. And I'm just letting these colors blend, keeping them nice and clear and clean. I am going to go around the eye because that is the only part that I want to stay white, and make sure that I've filled in all the other areas. I'm letting them do a little bit of their own blending. I've got, I thought I had a paper towel here. As I go outside my line a little, I'm just going to sort of pat that, rub that out a little. It's not too much of a problem because it's going to turn out to be water. This pelican's flying over water. So let's see, do I have a sense of the colors changing seamlessly? Yes. Is it very colorful and interesting? Yes. Does it look like a pelican? Well, only to the extent that it follows a pelican's shape. Otherwise, not really, but that's okay, because it's about being creative and interesting and fun, and not about doing it so perfect. So I am going to let this dry, and then I'm going to come back, and it'll dry pretty fast. I've got a fan on, and I think I managed not to use too much water. Let me soak up a little bit of it with a dry brush. And by dry, I mean barely wet. And let me drop in a little bit of deeper color here as well while it can still blend. I probably could have made this pelican a little bit smaller and had a little bit more space on the paper, but meh. I want to take up the whole paper. So I just added more water, which was maybe not what I wanted to do. I'm trying to soak it up, but here we are. Yeah, it's very colorful. It was really kind of a rainbow bird. I know it's backwards for you. I have Tom Lynch's book up here that talks about a colorful first wash and letting your colors all blend together. I think I've accomplished that pretty well. You can see here that where it blends together in some places, it makes an interesting colorful gray, and I'm going to be happy with that. Now in this case, the light is coming straight onto this bird kind of from up and at an angle. So the tops are going to be lighter, and that's why I chose yellows and the orange to go up here. Now Tom does use I think it's permanent orange, which I don't have in my palette, and frankly, if you'll look at my palette, you'll see I don't really have room for it. Let me see if I can show that to you. I've got every little place filled, and some have two colors in it. This one has permanent magenta and quinacridone coral. What else? Where else do I have two? That might be it, but I'm going to have to make room for another one because I just ordered peacock blue. So I'm going to have to figure out where that goes. I might end up putting quinacridone gold in with quinacridone burnt orange and then have that one for my blue. I do have it set up from warm colors and cool colors separately. So we'll see. We'll see where I manage. Maybe the peacock blue can live with the cobalt teal, cobalt turquoise, because they would go well together. Oh, I do have two different colors here. I have Indian throne blue and indigo. So can you see in there? It almost looks like black, and that is indeed kind of what I use for black sometimes. All right, let's see if this is dry enough for me to do a little bit of the detail stuff that helps it to look more like a pelican. So this is where you get to come back and go over the same colors with an intensity. So it isn't quite dry, but this is where it's going to really start to show up. So I am going to get a soft edge here because it's not quite dry, but here you're going to see that I've got that body under there is going to be darker. It's going to blend a little. This is drier. So up here, I'm going to go ahead and let that blend out so that you can see it. So this isn't, you know, this is not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be interesting and entertaining and at the same time more or less recognizable. So I just thought it would be fun to play with a pelican and do that. So this is definitely dry here. So I can come back and add that shadow underneath and give you that sense of what's happening there. See, that's starting to develop. And then I can, because these colors are not staining, I can actually use a clean dry, not dry, but clean and not sopping wet to lift out a little bit and recapture a sense of light here where I remember from my drawing. And that's just going to go there. And then that light, that feels kind of nice to me. I'm going to leave that. And then it gets really dark behind that. So I'm going to pat it and make sure look at that color come right off. So I might throw in a little color back to that later because now it looks kind of odd by comparison, doesn't it? Because it's so light. But if it's dry enough, I'm going to pat it a little bit more. Never rubbing, but patting. And then that very characteristic dark in that area. That's going to help really define that. Get even darker under here. The key to these rich colors is having lots of pigment and not a ton of water. So that really helps that show up. I'm going to go into that Indian throne and I'm going to go ahead and give this pelican an eyeball, and then I'm going to put a little shadow behind it. So this is a kind of fat brush. This is number 8, but it comes to a good point because I never use it for mixing. If you want your round brushes to stay round, don't use them for mixing. Use only your flat brushes for mixing. So this is the other side of the pelican. It's kind of its other shoulder, if you will. This shoulder is facing us. And then we've got the scents, and I'm just going to scrape up here a little bit of dry brush. We've got the scents of feathers here. And I don't want them all to be the same, but I do want to give that separation. So I'm going to do the darker, and this is bent down. So I don't want to take up too much of your time here. So I'm going to go ahead and this part's all in shadow. And then we're going to just do a few little, give the idea of the break of feathers here. And a little darker. Mix that with my pink so that we don't have all the feathers be exactly the same. I'm going to keep coming in and changing my colors. And there, a little bit of dark down there. And there you have a very colorful, interesting semi-realistic in that it has the right shape pelican. I'll hold that up for you to see. Now I would have to come back when this is completely dry and put in my background water to have him stand out against it. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with that. So thanks for joining me. Have a great day. Bye.